Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. Like always, Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock right here on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio, 1420 AM, Lubbock Christian Nation, Walk by Faith Facebook page, 987radio.com, Live 365 app, social media, the Rock Health and Wellness Centers on Facebook, YouTube, at Health from the Rock, and X, Jason Clemmons, DC. We are coming to you right here from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios on Friday night, talking about health. So I hope you guys have had a great week. It's been an outstanding week at the Rock. We've had lots of stuff going on, lots of new patients, lots of outside talks that we've done, gotten to meet some people that are in my community that I haven't met before. Got to have some conversations, got to study some stuff, and that's a little bit about what we're going to do tonight. We're going to try to take the second half of that boring second half of last night's show and see if we can make it a little bit better, talk about some vitamin K and some vitamin D and clear that up for everybody just to do that. So that we'll get into that here a little bit later. But hey, if you didn't get to hear last night's show, and Ken sent me a couple of texts or a couple of messages on social media about that he liked the show and he thought it was great. If you guys didn't get to hear it, go back to the Walk by Faith page or go to the Rock Health and Wellness Center's page and watch that first half of that show last night, because that was really a profound piece of information that I received. We've talked about it all day today about that video, and if you guys didn't see it, just go back. I won't get into it too much, but I got a video sent. I played quarterback at Tech in the early 90s. My very first start at Texas Tech was against Texas in 1992, and I'm not trying to be Uncle Rico on the show tonight. And if you guys don't know who that is, you need to go watch Napoleon Dynamite. And if you're older than, let's say, I don't know, 40, 50 years old, and you go back and watch Napoleon Dynamite, you're probably just going to sit there and stare at the screen the whole time, because that's what I did. Watching Napoleon Dynamite was one of the funniest things that I've ever done, because we watched it over at my mother-in-law and father-in-law's house, and we had my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, we had my grandmother-in-law. She was in her 90s. We had some of the brothers and sisters-in-laws. They were all there, and they were all older people, and it was Christmas time or whatever, and the kids wanted to watch Napoleon Dynamite, so they put it on TV, and I just happened to be sitting in one of those I don't know what they call it, one of like a love seat type of long lounge chair type of deal in the living room that was right next to it was sitting right there next to the television, so I couldn't really see the screen because the TV screen was right here, and that chair was sitting right here. And so Leslie and I were sitting in there, and we could kind of get an angle of the screen a little bit. But I could look over across the living room, and I could see my father-in-law and my mother-in-law and all those old people watching Napoleon Dynamite. And that was the most hilarious thing you've ever seen. They were just sitting there staring at the movie the whole time. Like, they didn't get it at all. It was so funny. And so if you guys haven't seen that, then you don't know who Uncle Rico is. But if you do, then I'm not trying to be Uncle Rico. I could throw a ball a quarter mile in 1982, right? Yes, no, I'm not talking about that. I was minding my own business. That's what happened. I was minding my own business. Gus came, sent me that video out of the blue, and we talked about it, and then he sent it to me, and then I started watching it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's nothing like I thought happened. My memory from 30 years ago was completely wrong. We did play Texas in Jones Stadium, and I was the quarterback. I know all that was true, but the plays, the sequences, the score, how it all turned out, I had that all confused, and it was such a lesson to learn that. So if you want to hear the full story on that, go back to last night's show, and you can listen to that, and we'll break that down for you. But it freed me up. And then Les and I, we had conversations about it yesterday, and then we had conversations about it again this morning, and it was just really funny. It was really funny to think of all the energy I've wasted all of the years being just disappointed in myself for not winning that game, and some of the things that happened in that game, and all that stuff. It was like it didn't happen the way I remembered it, and I'm not going to get re-disappointed in it. So we're not going to remember it now and then be like, okay, now I can be disappointed again. No, it's over. It's over and it's gone and it's done with, and can't do anything about it. I can help you with your nervous system. I can help you and your family live a better life, and that's what I'm doing now, and that's what I'm going to be focused on. Not like I was focused on it all the time anyway, but it was kind of fun. So last night's show, it's health, it's transparent, it's life, it's all those things and so if you didn't get a chance to watch it, go back and watch it. At least the second half was boring as heck. We were trying to talk about vitamin K. I was wanting to learn some stuff, and I think I've learned a little bit more in the last 24 hours. So maybe we'll touch on that a little bit in the second half of the show. So anyway, okay. You know what we do on this show? We talk about health. We talk about some of the things that happened this week. We talk about different things that you might be dealing with in your life. And one of the things that I wanted to just show you, and I wanted to show you because there is such a misunderstanding about X-ray and X-ray report. And I had 2 or 3 conversations this week about X-rays and X-ray reports, and I get it a bunch. People will come in and say, hey, I want an X-ray. Something's wrong with my shoulder, or something's wrong with my knee, and I think you need to take an X-ray. Or I'll get. I had one girl send me a message, and that she got an X-ray of her back because her back's been hurting, and she's she doesn't believe. And I'm not saying this in a negative way. She doesn't believe what I told her about her back. And her back continues to hurt. And so she went to her medical doctor to get an X-ray, and then she sent me the report of the X-ray. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, all right, well, that's pretty much everything we already knew. There's nothing there. That's why we didn't X-ray you in our office. We could have done that here. We didn't do it here because it was a waste of time and energy to do that. But I know you don't know that. And I know that most doctors are not going to tell you that because they make money by taking X-rays. So you come in and you say, hey, doc, I really think I need an X-ray of my knee. And they'll just go take an X-ray of your knee. They know dang well there's nothing wrong with your knee that they're going to see on that X-ray. But I want to talk about the difference between what a chiropractor, especially a neurology chiropractor, a functional neurology chiropractor that does wellness. Me, I guess that's what I am. I'm a wellness chiropractor that has a foundation of functional neurology. That's basically what we do. It sounds fancy, but it's not really that fancy. But when I take an X-ray of a person, I'm trying to look for. I already know that. Okay, so there's 3 things that we are taught when we're in chiropractic school about an X-ray. There's 3 main reasons that you take an X-ray. Number 1 is to determine if you have a fracture. I had a little girl last weekend call me on Friday afternoon or Saturday, maybe it's Friday afternoon. She was riding on a scooter. Her little brother kind of got involved in that process of her riding on a scooter, and she fell on her elbow. And she's got some kind of differently formed elbows anyway, but she fell down, landed on that elbow, and she came into the office and she would not move her arm. She would not move her arm at all. Okay, the first thing involved in determining whether or not we need to take an X-ray, the first thing that is involved in that particular case is the mechanism of injury. What happened to the person? The mechanism of injury is super important. What happened to the person? They fell off a scooter and landed on the concrete on their elbow. Okay, the pretty much every human being with a brain on the planet could think to themselves, they might agree with that there's a chance that person might have broken their elbow. Like she's I don't know, she's 7, 8, 9 years old, 8 years old, 7 years old, I don't know. And she fell on the concrete, getting pushed off a scooter. Yes, that's definitely needs to be addressed. Like we need to take that. We need to determine, number one, is there a fracture? Number two, is there a dislocation? That's the second thing that we need to do. Number three, is there some sort of disease process that's taking place, like a tumor, a cancer, something like that? Now, you wouldn't take an X-ray of that little girl's elbow on the idea that she has cancer. You wouldn't suspect that, right? You wouldn't suspect that. Oh well, she probably has cancer in her elbow. Um, that's why her elbow hurts. Nope, you wouldn't expect that at all. You're going for those first two things: a fracture and a dislocation. That's the standard. That's the gold standard medical version of why you take an X-ray. And that's what they teach us. And when we write all of our reports, we have to write those things. We have to have justification and all that sort of thing in the realm of X-ray as far as that goes. Okay? But when you're looking at things differently from a subluxation standpoint, and you're looking at nervous system interference standpoint, and you're looking at um, abnormal function, and you're looking at neurology, and I know that may sound really crazy, but you can see neurology on an X-ray. You can take an X-ray and take the findings of that X-ray and infer some neurological function based on what you see on that X-ray. So there's a lot of reasons that we take X-rays that have nothing to do with tumors, fractures, or dislocations. But it's super important for me to do that because otherwise I'm working blind and I need to see things. But sometimes what you as the consumer will get is you will get a report from the doctor and it will confuse you in lots of different ways. Three or four different cases this week, that 5 different cases this week um, that has something to do with X-ray. 5 different cases this week: a motor vehicle accident, and that girl I was talking about. 6 if you had the elbow person. Yeah, they start adding up all of a sudden, right? There's lots of them, and there's one that I want to show you because this person has back pain. This person has had an injury at work. This person um, sometimes has some complete numbness from the middle of the chest down. There's lots of things going on. There's lots of things going on with this person. And they came to see me this week and they brought their X-ray report. And that's the first thing that I wanted to show you is I wanted to show you the X-ray report. And I know you guys can't see it on the radio, but we're going to talk through it so you don't really have to see it this time. But this is the exam: X-ray, lumbar spine, 4+ views, history, numbness, old injury. Okay, so that was the thing. Why are we taking this? Because the patient complains of having numbness. They complain of an old injury. Multiple views of the lumbar spine were obtained. There's comparison. There's none available. The findings: the lumbar lordotic alignment appears within normal limits. No acute fracture is seen. The vertebral body heights are maintained, assuming hypoplastic ribs at T12. There is transitional anatomy and partial sacralization at L5. That just means down there towards the sacrum at the bottom. Pseudoarthrosis of right transverse process of L5 with right sacral ala. So And a lot of that stuff, a lot of times when radiologists say things, it's just like when chiropractors talk about certain things or anybody else. There's a bunch of words that you get confused about that don't even make any sense. Like, I don't know what any of that just meant. But the main thing that it meant to me was that I read, and then go down to impressions, no acute osseous abnormalities, transitional anatomy as described. Basically, what they're saying is there's nothing found on that x-ray that might explain what's going on with this patient. Especially the first sentence in that report, the lumbar lordotic alignment appears within normal limits. Okay? Now what I want to do is I want to show you the film. If I can. I'm going to show you what this looks like. Okay, now the picture on the left is the normal, and the picture on the right is the patient. So the green lines are what would be considered the normal. The red dotted line is the patient. Okay, so the X-ray report that came from the radiologist, and the radiologist is 100% accurate from a medical radiology standpoint. That I'm not at all criticizing the radiology report. It's 100% accurate based on what the radiologist is looking at. The radiologist is saying, hey, the lumbar spine is within normal limits. The alignment is within normal limits. But when I look at that, that is absolutely not within normal limits. And there's a major posterior translation of the spine. The red line is way behind the green line. So all of a sudden, this person is not, their sacrum looks okay down at the bottom, but the way that goes, that really starts leaning back. And that increased curve right there puts tremendous amount of pressure on what's going on right back here in the back. There's tremendous amount of pressure, and those are called facet joints. F-A-C-E-T, facet joints. Seven. There was another one I just remembered because that just brought that up. 7 conversations about this week that I had in the office. Okay, these are facet joints in the back. There's a vertebrae, there's a disc that's in the middle, and then you've got these facets on the back. When you lean back that far, when you have that massive posterior translation right there, that's going to cause disruption in the function of what's going on. Now, what it's also going to cause at the top of that, and what we don't see on the X-ray, we're leaning back, way back in the lumbar spine, and then up here in the upper spine, we've got complete concavity. We've got complete loss of tone. Everything is just like this. This is crushed. Way back here, way back. Okay, that's the neurology part that I can see. That is leading me to understand a greater level of what's going on with that person's brain. And we went through the whole history, and we talked about all the medications that this person was taking, and we talked about all of it. Okay, and the history, what went on with this kid when they were younger, all that sort of thing. We took all that information and put it together, but this is not normal alignment to me. This is absolutely not normal alignment, and it has to do something with what is going on with this person. Okay, now let's look at that same person from the front. And now you can measure, and it's I hate to do this because I tell everybody that comes in the office, it's such a stereotypical thing when you go to a chiropractor that they tell you one leg's longer than the other one. And so I don't do that. I don't tell people that. But there are some cases that happens. And so what I want you to see in this particular picture is I want you to see the green line is a plumb line that's dead center right through the middle of that person's sacrum and going straight up and down. That green line is the normal, and that red dotted line is way low on that left side. And it starts in the actual femur itself. It's down here, and you can look at that. I can't get low enough on my picture there. Let me see if I can pick that up a little bit. Hang on. Got about 18 screens open right now. But yeah, there you go. So there's the femur height right there. And the femur height is definitely lower on the left side. This is the person looking back at us. So the right side is, we're looking at, this would be their left side over here. And then this is their right, the top of their right femur. Well, look how much difference that is. Like that thing is rotated. And then look how low it is over here on the left side. So this pelvis, the top of the pelvis is so much lower. Just look where the top of the pelvis is in relation to the green line. So the green line right here is going right, just almost right across the top of that pelvic bone. But look how much lower the green line is compared to the right side. Now, the other thing you can look at is right in the middle of the sacrum. If you drop the sacrum, a line straight down from that green line, it would come all the way down and would be probably about a half an inch, maybe a touch more from where the pubic symphysis is, which is where the pelvis comes together on the front. If you go from your belly button and you just start working your way down in that soft tissue, all of a sudden you'll hit a bone, and that's the pelvic symphysis, and that's what is coming. That whole thing is coming around. And so what we've got major rotation that's going on, but we don't have major curve in the lumbar spine. So because of that, because we don't have this major curve in the lumbar spine right here, the lumbar spine is relatively straight. It fades off just a little bit to the left, but it's relatively straight right there. So the lumbar spine is relatively straight and the sacrum is way down. So that means there has to be some sort of torque going on between L5 and the sacrum somewhere along right there that could be contributing to all this. And it's not normal alignment. So you say, well, I went to my medical doctor and I got x-rays and everything's normal. And it's like, no, that's good news. That's good news from the medical doctor, because that means that you don't have a fracture, a tumor, or a dislocation. But that's all that means for me. It doesn't mean normal at all or functional at all for me. And I think it's just super important for us to understand that. Because that's not, you will get confused as the consumer. You will be the one that gets confused, and you'll get confused in multiple other ways as well. Because one of the other ways that we talked about multiple times on the show is you will hear the word degeneration, degenerative disc disease. And when you hear that word degenerative disc disease, you went to the doctor because you were in pain. Let me see if I've got a picture of some degenerative disc disease. Yeah, there's one right there. Let me close this one and get this one on. And let me share this one for us. Okay, there is some degenerative disc disease going on in this spine right here. There's some decreased disc height. We've got some bone spurring right there. Down here below, we've got some degenerative disc disease and some degenerative disc disease that's happening. There's a couple different places down there. I cannot tell you whether or not this person is in pain or not in pain. And there are, we could probably go through about 1,000 x-rays of degeneration in the spine, degenerative disc disease in the spine that has zero pain involved in it. But you're almost never going to go to the doctor and get an x-ray of your lumbar spine when you feel fabulous. Right? You wouldn't do that. You're not just thinking to yourself, man, my back feels great. I think I want to go tell my medical doctor to give me an x-ray of my lumbar spine. They probably wouldn't do it. And they probably wouldn't do it. And then the only time they're going to do it is when you're in pain. And then they're going to tell you that the reason you're in pain is because of your degeneration. And it's just false. It's false. It's function. Your back's not functioning properly. Speaking of that, we got to go to a break right quick. So you guys stick around with us. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we'll be right back right after these messages. Your back hurts, so you go to the doctor. And the reason I know that if you're watching this show for the first time, it's news to you. If you're watching this show because you're a regular listener to the show, you're like, he's going to say that same thing again. I am, because I've had the same conversation 2 or 3 times this week about that right there. And these are with established patients that have been here for a long time. And so one of these days, it's going to be you or someone in your family. You're going to get, let me see what this one does. Yeah, here's another one. And let me switch it. When we're on the break, I'll switch it and you can see it. This is degeneration in the cervical spine. So this is the neck right here. That's degenerative disc disease. That's degenerative disc disease. That's degenerative disc disease. That one's normal. But we've got these 3 segments right here that have some degenerative disc disease, especially right there. That's degenerative disc disease. I cannot tell you if that person has any pain in their neck or not. I can't tell you. There's no way for me to determine that based on that x-ray. There could be an x-ray of a dead person. And I can promise you, I showed the patient this week, she has low back pain. But I have low back x-rays and neck x-rays. And she thinks that the reason that her low back hurts is because she has degeneration in her low back. But she has degeneration in her neck too, and it doesn't hurt. Her neck doesn't hurt at all. And she's like, it's so hard. I get it, and I feel for you. And that's why I keep going over it. I get it, and I feel for you. It's not the degeneration that's causing the pain. It's the function that's causing the pain. Actually, the malfunction that's causing the pain, which has some sort of inflammatory effect to it. If the degeneration is causing the pain, you will be in pain 24 hours a day constantly because you have degeneration 24 hours a day constantly. Unless you get some sort of pharmaceutical that blows it up, then that would change it, right? All right, let me get us back on the radio. We'll move along. Hey, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We're just going through some stuff today. We're taking a look. We've been taking a look at some x-rays. We're talking about some degeneration. I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted to share that. I wanted to share that report because the reports confuse us. The reports confuse you as a consumer because of the wording and the I don't like the word. Misinformation is not the word. But sometimes the doctors don't feel like they really want to explain all this stuff to you. And sometimes as a patient, the patients don't really want to learn all this stuff either. They just want to know why their back hurts. And so what happens is we get lazy. We get lazy as providers, we get lazy as patients. You get two lazy people together and then we just make up something. Oh, it's arthritis. It's just arthritis. I think I've got some arthritis in my shoulder. That's what's bothering me is my arthritis. And it's like it's what does that mean? Arthritis, inflammation in the joint. Okay, get rid of the inflammation. Okay, I got rid of the inflammation. My shoulder feels better. Do you still have arthritis? Well, yeah, my doctor told me I had arthritis. What does that mean? Y'all follow me on that? Yeah, I mean, 806-794-0400. If you're out there anywhere on the planet and you're following me on that, you can just send me a thumbs up. That'd be great. You could just send me a thumbs up right now on social media. Say, I got you. I got you. Would you please quit talking about this? I understand. Or you could send me a thumbs down and say, nope, I don't get it. I still don't get what you're saying. Because my doctor told me I had arthritis in my neck. That's why my neck hurt. Absolutely not. That's not true. No, wait. Wait. That could be true. You could have inflammation in your neck, and that could be why your neck hurt. That's true. But get rid of the inflammation in your neck. Get rid of it. Get rid of your inflammation altogether. You know, one way you can get rid of your inflammation? Take your vitamin D. Yeah, let's transition because I didn't mean to stay on this for this long. I was trying last night, and I did a very boring, poor job of trying to transition and talk about vitamin K because I gave a talk on Tuesday night over at the Wise Group. We talked about vitamin D. I blew some people's gaskets about that. And I just wanted to try last night to try to make it a little bit better. And I didn't. I just made it boring because I was reading a textbook and I understand that that's boring. And so, but tonight I want to share a little bit more about vitamin K so that maybe you might have a better understanding of what is happening with vitamin K and see if we can do a better job with that. Okay. Because people want to know if I take vitamin D, should I take vitamin K? What's going on? I've got some notes. I want to walk through them all, but I want to use them from a big picture standpoint a little bit better. And pardon my handwriting, but sometimes it's hard to write on this thing. Let's back up. Let's back up and address. Let's make an attempt on this beautiful Friday evening in Lubbock, Texas, and all over the world. Let's make an attempt to see if we can explain this just a little bit better. Okay, and let's see if we can back up a little bit and get a big global understanding of what's going on. Okay, I think it's pretty common, and I think it's pretty understood that calcium is important. Calcium is important. Calcium is important for lots of different reasons in the body. The one main thing that's been sold to the public is how important calcium is to bones, right? I think for the most part, when people think of calcium, they think of bones, all right? It's also really important for other areas. And just to name a couple, I'm going to name is the brain and nerves. Okay, whenever you have anything that's important to the brain, it is very highly regulated in the body. There are multiple systems that are involved because your brain can't afford not to have it. Like oxygen, for example, right? We need oxygen. It's very important to the brain. If you get just a little bit of drop in oxygen in your brain, you will pass out and hit the floor. Why? Why will you pass out and hit the floor? Because when you're laying down on your back or on your face, but you're horizontal on the ground, the blood will pool to your brain. It's way easier to pump. You don't have to pump it versus gravity where it's going up. You will be able to pump it on your heart can pump that blood on the horizontal, and you can get that blood to the brain faster and get some oxygen there. That's why you pass out. You pass out to get your brain reset, okay? Because your brain's it's not getting blood, it's not getting glucose or oxygen or some sort of nutrient that it needs, okay? So anything that has anything that the brain needs, it pays attention to. There's not a lot of debate over it. It's like, hey, give it to me and give it to me now, okay? All right. But at the same time, calcium is also important in bone. There's no question about that. So what we do basically is we keep a blood level of calcium. We have a certain amount of calcium that's in the blood. And I want to show you because we did this last night. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. Let's just go with that right there. Okay. But there's a certain amount of calcium that we need in our blood, and that's going to be regulated. Okay. And what's going to happen now is that's going to be regulated basically by the parathyroid gland. So you've got the thyroid gland. Then you've got 4 small little glands that sit behind the thyroid gland that they call the parathyroid gland or the parathyroid glands, okay? And they will release parathyroid hormone. And whenever they detect that you have a decreased amount of calcium, let's say that there's a gauge, just like on your car, you've got the gauge and it's full and empty, and all of a sudden your calcium levels are low. You're empty. That gauge is on E, or it's getting low, right? And that flows through there. Then that parathyroid is going to stimulate. It's going to say, "Hey, look, we need to release parathyroid hormone because we need to get more calcium into the blood." That's super important for us to do that. Okay, so what's going to happen is the parathyroid hormone is basically going to get released. Let's pick another color. The parathyroid hormone is going to get released, and it's going to go to the kidney. And we know from our study of vitamin D that vitamin D is made in the skin, and then it's converted with the UVB light in those deep layers of the skin. It floats. Now it's in the blood. It gets picked up by a transporter in the blood, and it's taken to the liver, and it's changed to another form of vitamin D in the liver, but it's not the active form. It's basically the storage form so that whenever we need it, we can call upon it and we can have it and we can get it done. Okay? So what the parathyroid hormone is going to do is it's going to go to the kidney and basically activate the kidney to make the 125 OHD, which is now the active form of the vitamin D. This is active. And so what vitamin D is going to do now is vitamin D is going to go to the intestine. This active form of the vitamin D is going to go to the intestine. So this is our vitamin D, active. It's going to go to the intestine, and it's going to increase the absorption of calcium. So now it's going to take calcium, and now we're going to get an increased amount of calcium to go into the bloodstream. Because we need that calcium. We need to make sure of what's going on with it. It's important for us to get that calcium. So now our calcium levels are going to rise in our bloodstream. Now, when they flow back through that gauge again, then that gauge is going to end up being full. It's going to move itself around. It's going to fill up just like your gas tank fills up. You put gas in it, it fills up, and that's going to end up being full. And when that flows back through that parathyroid hormone, it's going to stop. It's going to, and that's where the increased calcium decreases the parathyroid hormone. Okay, and there's another release in the thyroid. That's where you get into calcitonin. But just to make it simple, just to try not to make it complicated, just to make it simple, that's just a simple way of what's happening right there. That we're going to activate the vitamin D with the parathyroid hormone. We're going to increase the absorption of calcium into the blood, and now the body's going to be happy again. Now we've got enough calcium in the blood. Okay. Now the question is, what are we going to do with the calcium in the blood? What is it that we want to do? Where do we want to direct the calcium to go? Okay. And what is it that's going to do that? And that's what vitamin K is going to do for us. Now that we've got this increased calcium in the blood, vitamin K is going to do basically two things. Number one, vitamin K is going to be an assistant, and it's going to help. It's going to help in the bone itself. I don't know how complicated I should get with it, but glutamic acid, as found as part of the protein that makes up bone tissue. You've got glutamic acid, okay? And it doesn't matter what that means, but it's just this molecule, basically, okay? And the molecule needs to be activated to this gamma carboxy glutamic acid is now activated and ready to attract calcium ions. So basically, what's going to happen is vitamin K is going to take one molecule and it's going to assist. Let's just say that that vitamin K, we have a molecule. Let's just say we have molecule A, and we're going to take it to molecule A plus. We're going to make it active. Okay. Well, we need the vitamin K to do that. We need the vitamin K to make this molecule turn into that molecule. That's one of the things that vitamin K is going to do for us. And vitamin K, I found this out today and I did not know this. Vitamin K was discovered in 1934. We read this last night by Danish scientist Heinrich, D-A-M, how do you say that? Okay. The Danish word for coagulation is coagulation with a K, Koagulation. If you say coagulation in Danish, it starts with a K. There you go. That's how fancy all this stuff is. Dr. Dom, however you say that, or Dam, I don't know. Henrik, oh boy, HD, that's what we'll call him. HD in 1934, he just said, hey, you know what? It helps with coagulation because he's working, I think, with a bunch of mice, we said last night. And he was determined that it was cholesterol that was their problem, and he got rid of their cholesterol. And then they started having all these hemorrhagic problems and diseases and bleeding to death. And he's like, oh no, what did I do? So he gave them some alfalfa pellets. And when he gave them some alfalfa pellets, they stopped dying. And he was like, what did I do? And he figured out that in the alfalfa, which is a green leafy plant, we wouldn't call it a vegetable. It's a green leafy plant. It has lots of this substance in it that has a name. It's not so important. It's a fancy, big, long name, but it helps with coagulation. So he called it vitamin K. There you go. It's not potassium. It's vitamin K. But one of the things that vitamin K does is it makes one molecule turn into an active form of molecule, which is a protein in the bone that attracts This attracts calcium. Okay? That's what vitamin K does. Now, if you've got vitamin K, you can get this active form of this molecule that's in the bone, and it will start to suck the calcium from the bloodstream into the bone. So now we can put that, we got that extra calcium floating around in the bloodstream. Now we got a way to put it right where we want it. We can put it right into the bone. All right? Because we've got this activated form and we got it activated by having vitamin K. That's one thing. Okay? Now, another thing that vitamin K does is it does basically the exact opposite in the soft tissue. And I don't want to get super complicated. And I'm not trying to be insulting to your intelligence, because I know there's a lot of complicated podcasts out there on the internet. I'm just trying to teach it in a way that's simple enough that I can teach it. Because when I start trying to get more complicated, it confuses me and you together, and then it's like, that was the stupidest thing I ever saw, right? Okay, there's another protein that's been identified to date, which are involved in regulating soft tissue calcification. Osteocalcin matrix GLA protein, which is MGP, and possibly GLA-rich protein, are all inhibitors of soft tissue calcification and need vitamin K-dependent carboxylation for activity. Okay, slow down. What does that mean? What did I just say? I said there's this right here, and what we're calling it, we're just going to call it matrix GLA protein, which is MGP. For simplicity, another thing that vitamin K does is it has an effect on MGP in the soft tissue. And what that is, it's an inhibitor, it's a blocker. It is a blocker of calcium absorption. It's a blocker of calcium in the soft tissue, because you don't want calcium in your soft tissue. Calcium is going to make you have bone in your muscles. It's going to make you have bone in your ligaments. It's going to make you have bone in places that you don't want bone. You don't want that to happen. Okay? So you want to be able to say, "Hey, look," and the body has wisdom and the body knows what it's doing. So vitamin K is going to help activate this MGP in the soft tissue and say, nope, no calcium in here. You guys stay out of here. We do not want to absorb the calcium. You guys go to the bone. So if you have enough vitamin K, you're going to be able to activate the bone sucking protein, the calcium absorption protein that's in your bone, and you're going to be able to have the stop protein that's inside your soft tissue, the blocking protein inside the soft tissue, and both of them need vitamin K in order to function. Vitamin K also helps coagulate blood, and there's a bunch of it in the blood vessels. So if you were to stick yourself with a knife, you want that to coagulate, and that's part of what vitamin K does, is it helps bind all that stuff, because it's a precursor for a couple of other things that helps bind that, and now that makes you be able to clot your blood. That's why they don't want you to clot your blood if they're doing some sort of heart surgery, or you got a stent in your heart and all that sort of thing. There's like, oh, be careful, don't be doing that, right? Now, I'm not treating any sort of heart disease, and I'm not even, that. If you guys don't know that, that's not what we do on this show ever. I am not treating pathology. I'm talking about wellness. I'm talking about wellness. Always. I'm talking about wellness, and I'm talking about the subluxation. That's what my job is. I'm not treating your disease process. If you have a disease process and you want your medical doctor to treat it, that's who should be treating it. and y'all can discuss all this. I'm talking about wellness. So people, when we take an external source of vitamin D, we are taking the inactive form of vitamin D. We're taking that vitamin D that came from the sunshine that hit the 7 dehydrocholesterol or whatever it is inside the skin, that very first form of it. That's what we're taking. The combination of that is what we're taking. We're not taking active form of vitamin D. Apparently, and I haven't gotten this far yet, but apparently they start adding this vitamin K to this stuff just to make sure that, because you have this extra vitamin D laying around, if that parathyroid hormone detects that you have low amounts of calcium, then now all of a sudden you're going to be able to absorb calcium really quickly, and you're going to need that vitamin K to make sure that you either push that calcium out of the tissue, keep it from getting in the tissue, or you take that calcium and put it in the bone. And that's what your vitamin K does for you. And it helps you coagulate your blood. Okay, I did a poor job of that this week, but this week's not over, right? And you can play the whole game, and you can play it till the fourth quarter, and sometimes you win the game in the fourth quarter. So if you don't get it right the first time, it doesn't mean that you're an idiot. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean that you don't know what you're talking about. It just means that you've got some things to learn, and all of us do. And some people are just brilliant at stuff, right? But what we're just talking on a Friday night amongst ourselves. That's basically what we're doing, and we're trying to understand what's going on, and should we take any of this or should we not take it? Now, there's lots of different opinions on how much vitamin D we should take. There's lots of different opinions on that. And Dr. Berg, I watched one of his videos today. If you guys don't know him, he's on YouTube. And Dr. Berg was talking about, he was running one that was talking about how much vitamin D you should take, and he mapped it out, and he did an entire algebraic equation of how much vitamin D a person should take, and he did all that and came up with 10,000 IUs of vitamin D every day. So that's not uncommon. That it's not uncommon. I'm reading a book right now. The guy takes 100,000 IUs once a month. He's a medical doctor, endocrinologist out of the UK, and he takes 100,000 IUs once a month. So there's some fussiness about it. What's going on from a wellness standpoint? Where do you get it? Listen, before we have to end the show, where are some of the best sources of vitamin K? Turnip greens, cooked turnip greens have 471 mcgs. I think that's micrograms. Okay, the estimated amount is 70 to 140 a day. So turnip greens are high. Cooked broccoli, cooked cabbage, beef liver, green tea, chopped lettuce, chopped raw spinach is 49. Asparagus is 34. Cooked oats, cheese is 20. Watercress, chopped watercress is 18. You get some from peaches, peas, green beans is 9, and milk is 7. That's just on the list. Some of that stuff we don't drink or participate in. But those are some of the places that you can get vitamin K. And usually if you just eat your green leafy vegetables like your mama told you to do and your grandma told you to do, you're probably going to be just fine with that. Now, you don't have to worry about your calcium because you're going to get your calcium from your spinach also. And you're going to get your vitamin D. If you don't get enough sunshine, you can take your vitamin D, and then that will help you with your osteoporosis, and it'll keep your calcium levels balanced so that there's not too much in there for your brain. Hey, that's the show for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope it was helpful for you. If there's anything I could do for you to help your life be better, please let me know. Send me a message. Thanks for watching the show. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll be back on Monday.